Hi everyone, welcome to the October 2025 net worth video, and this is a big one. My net worth is $1,005,298.23. Y'all, I am finally a net worth millionaire. It feels amazing. It's similar to that scene in Frankenstein where the doctor brings the monster right back to life and he says he's alive. Like this is how I feel in terms of it's working. Like everything I'm doing, the pushing, the pulling, the pushing, the pulling, the sacrifice, the push, all of it is finally feeling like it's working. It is moving forward. Like I am getting there. Wow. I couldn't even stop looking at the number because I was just like, wait, is my calculation right? Am I maybe overestimating something? But I'm right. The numbers are right. I am a net worth millionaire, and it is just so awesome. Okay, let's get into the numbers. But before we do, hi, I'm Mona. I am 41 years old, single. I live in New York City. I own a home, and I have one child who is 6 years old, and she is disabled. So that's my background, and let's jump right into the numbers. Starting with the assets. So your net worth is your assets minus your liability. So on the asset side, starting from the top, my Bank of America checking account balance was $5,461.44. That's a decrease of $170.48 from the prior month. This account is my everyday expenses account, so I just use it to pay mortgage, electricity, food, transportation for myself and my daughter. So essentially it's a wash account. It always has about $5,000 in it because that's around about what my monthly expenses are. But I keep it on here because it is cash and it is part of my net worth. So that's that. Moving over to my Ally Bank savings account, balance on that was $7,550. That's an increase of $5,950 from the prior month. Now, I did mention in my weekly M1 Finance videos that for Q4, I am not aggressively investing. And that's because, just like I said, the money will be going into rebuilding up my life fund or emergency fund because I did deplete that to help get my M1 Finance portfolio, which we'll talk about a little bit later, over to the 300K balance mark. So now I'm rebuilding this, and almost $6,000 went in for the month of October, and I will be taking a similar approach for the month of November and December. So that's that account. And then moving over into the 401k plan, balance on that was $375,489.37. That's an increase of $18,133.35. So this is a huge increase in a single month, and there's a reason behind it. So my 401k, I maxed this out back in March. However, I've been with my current employer for 3 years. And in order to get the employer match, in order for it to be vested 100%, you have to stay with the company at a minimum of 3 years. So the 401k, the employer match finally vested in the month of October. So this is where that huge increase is coming from. But that's something I want to point out because in a lot of personal finance videos, you'll hear you should at least, at a minimum, invest in your 401k up to the employer match. But the part that always gets left out is your employer vesting schedule. Some employers, you vest, meaning that you get the match 100% on day one. Others have like a level vesting schedule. So maybe year one, you get 20%, year two, you get 50% of the match, and so forth. But my employer, it's zero or nothing. So it's either you get 0% of the match or you get 100% of the match if you stay at a minimum 3 years. So that part is really important, because if you don't follow your employer vesting schedule, so let's say if I had quit this job at year 2, I wouldn't have gotten any of the match. So yes, at a minimum, invest up to your employer match, but also make sure that you're staying at that employer long enough to actually 100% vest into the match, so it's actually your money whether you stay with the employer or not. So out of this $18,000, $9,500 of it was my employer match finally vesting. So the gain for the month was $8,633.35. Still a pretty decent amount of money in a single month, but just wanted to break down that difference there. And my 401k, I am 100% invested in the S&P 500. Moving over to my M1 Finance brokerage account, balance on that account was $314,227.10. That's an increase of $7,210.53 from the prior month. For my M1, out of that difference, I deposited $2,250. So the gain for the month is actually $4,960.53. Still, again, to me, pretty decent gains. Typically, my deposit within my M1 Finance account on a monthly basis is like 5,000 or higher. So I did pull back significantly, as I mentioned before, and put that money into my Ally Bank savings account. And my M1 Finance portfolio, it is 76% invested in the S&P 500, 23% is in SCHD, and 1% is in QQQM. Moving on to the Robinhood brokerage account, balance on that was $3,435.27. That's an increase of $972.49 from the prior month. In the month of October, I did deposit $550. So if you back that out of the gain, the actual gain is $422.49. Still very happy with it. The Robinhood account, this is my get rich quick account. It's just fun money. I have crypto in there and I have some individual stocks. So for instance, I have Bitcoin, I have Palantir, I have Robinhood Markets, I have Joby. Again, just a bunch of random stocks and crypto that I think might potentially do well, but as you see here, a very insignificant amount of my investments is in that, because that's really not how true wealth is built. True wealth is really built on investing in like a broad index fund such as the S&P 500 or the total stock market, which is essentially where all my money is. All right, moving over to the Roth IRA, balance on that was $55,839.42. That's an increase of $1,226.59 from the prior month. I did max out my Roth IRA back in March, so this is 100% gains, which is really great. And my Roth IRA, I am 67% in the S&P 500, 27% in the total stock market, and 6% in SCHD. Next up is my HSA, or my health savings account. Balance on that was $43,620.33. That's an increase of $1,562.96 from the prior month. In the month of October, I had payroll contributions into the HSA of $587.50. So my actual gain was $975.46. So again, pretty good. Very happy with that increase. And my HSA is 100% invested in the S&P 500. And also the balance is 100% invested. So I don't leverage my HSA for any health expenses for myself or my daughter. I pay for those out of pocket with cash. So all the money going into the HSA is 100% invested in the S&P 500, the stock market. Okay, talking about my daughter, moving over to the ABLE account, which stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. And it's investments as checking account for people with disabilities. I mentioned that my daughter is disabled, so I am saving for her future. So the balance on her account was $55,019.50. That's an increase of $914.80 from the prior month. I didn't put any money into this account in October, so that's 100% gain, which is awesome. In the ABLE account, you are able to select different tiers of investing. So I have her in the most aggressive investment option, which still has like a percentage of bond in it. But given that she's 6 years old and she has time on her side, I have her in the most aggressive investment option. And the ABLE account can be used for the care for the person with the disability. So anything pertaining to their care, so housing, transportation, food, clothing, healthcare, etc. But I've just been cash flowing all of her expenses out of my income. So her ABLE account is 100% invested. None of it is in cash. And moving over to my last asset, which is my home. I bought it back in August of 2023. I've kept the value flat because I don't want the majority of my net worth to come from my home. I do want it to come overwhelmingly from my investments. So I do plan to keep this home value flat indefinitely unless we sell it, I sell it, or which I don't plan to sell it. So it's just going to stay a flat value. So the difference from the prior month is $0. So my total assets for the month of October was $1,295,642.43. That's an increase of $35,800.24 from the prior month. So pretty nice increase. And I am also on a journey to FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. I hope to retire in the next 4 years or less. We will see what happens. So I do track the value of my FIRE assets. So these are the assets that I would actually draw down on to early retire. So those FIRE assets include my 401k, my M1 finance brokerage account, my Robinhood brokerage account, my Roth IRA, and my health savings account. So if you add up all of those accounts, the value was $792,611.49. So that's an increase of $29,105.92 from the prior month. So as you're seeing here, the overwhelming majority of the increase in my assets are coming from my investments and not my home. Again, because that property value will just stay flat, so it'll always be $0. All right, and moving over to liabilities. So I just have my mortgage. I don't have credit cards. I don't play the credit card game, the points game. I keep life very simple. Is either I can pay for something in cash or not. If I want to do something and I don't have the cash, I save up the cash and then I do it. Very, very simple. Or I just don't do it at all. So mortgage is the only debt, and the balance on that was $290,344.20. That's a decrease of $480.16 from the prior month. My monthly mortgage payment is about $2,200 a month. So as you see here, is just a minuscule part of that amount going into or going towards the principal. The overwhelming majority of it is going towards the interest. And I have a 6.75% mortgage, so I wasn't one of those lucky people who got the 1% or the 2% mortgage rate. The goal is to pay down the mortgage faster, but not at the sacrifice of my early retirement. So I'll definitely have a mortgage balance when I early retire. All right. And again, if you take my assets of $1,295,642.43 and minus my liability of $290,344.20, you have a net worth of $1,005,298.23. So that is a difference of $36,280.40 from the prior month. That is it, folks. That's everything. October, definitely a huge milestone month for me. I do realize I am just over the $1 million mark. So depending on how November goes, I may fall below it. But once I hit a milestone, I count it. I don't care if next month it goes down to 950,000. I've hit the $1 million net worth. Like, I'm done. It's checked off the list and I'm moving on. But it's really awesome to finally be here. All right, let me know how your net worth went for the month of October. Stock market did fairly decent, so we should all be up. And I'll catch you next month. Bye.